This is the brand spanking new Bluetti Apex 300 power station. It is most definitely not a portable power station, but saying that, I believe it has the potential to be the best power station for any camper van. Here's why. Now, before we go into too much detail about the brand spanking new Apex 300, let's talk about some of the other Bluettis I have in my life. Like this AC200 Max, for instance. I've used this every day for the last 3 years here inside my Mercedes Sprinter campervan. And what makes this so special is the very fact that it has a 12 volt 30 amp outlet. It is also expandable. I've actually got 2 expansion batteries plugged into this. I can use it to power my diesel heater, my lighting, my fridge, pretty much everything that runs off a 12 volt here in my Mercedes Sprinter runs off of this AC200 Max. I've got 600 watts of solar on my roof of my van and it keeps this charged up. It's actually at 99% now, and I've used it twice today, once with my induction cooktop to make a cup of tea and once with my air fryer to make myself some lunch. And even though it's a cloudy, rainy day, as you can probably hear outside, it's still at 99%. But that's not always the case. In the winter time, it's a different kettle of fish. Now, I like to charge my power stations using my homemade EV charging cable. And a Type 2 EV charging station can deliver up to 3 kilowatts. But unfortunately, the Bluetti AC200 relies on this power brick, and this can only deliver 500 watts. That's half a kilowatt. And because I'm using 2 expansion batteries with this, it can take me up to 8 hours to charge my complete system. And believe me, sitting in Tesco's car park in the freezing cold winter time for 8 hours to try and charge a power station isn't really much fun. However, the AC300 that I have installed into my Mercedes Vario can actually take full advantage of those 3 kilowatts using my homemade EV charging cable. This thing can draw all the power it needs from an EV charging station and charge itself really fast, giving it that little bit of advantage over the AC200 Max. Also, the other advantage of the AC300, it has 2 MPPT charge controllers built into it, and I use one of those to take power from the solar panels on the roof of my van, and the other one is connected up to the alternator via a voltage sensing relay. So when I'm driving my Mercedes Vario, my alternator charges the AC300 alongside the solar panels on the roof of my van, so charging this is no issues at all, come sunshine or rain. And just like the AC200 Max, this also has a 12 volt 30 amp outlet, giving me plenty of power to power things like my diesel heater, my diesel cooktop, the ceiling fan and all the lighting inside my Mercedes Vario, making this a pretty good power station for any camper van, except for one drawback: the sheer size of this thing. It is massive, and it doesn't have a built-in battery either. You actually need an expansion battery, and at the moment this is actually sat on top of said expansion battery. Just look how far down that goes. It's almost the length of my arm. So although this is ideal for a camper van, you've got to make sure you've got a pretty big camper van. Now, the AC300 is so good, I was actually going to buy another one of these and install it into my Sprinter. Thank goodness I didn't, because despite being roughly the same size as the AC300, the Apex 300 actually has its own built-in battery, and this is an automotive grade LiPo 4 battery with an estimated lifespan of 17 years. And because it's an automotive grade battery, Bluetti are actually going to bring out their own EV charging cable. They've even included an EV charging cable port on the side of this, which means I can do away with my homemade EV charging cable and use the proper equipment at last. A power station you can actually charge officially using an EV charging station. Fantastic. Now, just like the AC300, this also has 2 DC inputs, meaning I can charge this also using the solar panels on the roof of my van, and also using a Charger 1 adapter I could use the alternator on my van, charging this with my alternator and my solar panel at the same time, and because of this I'm actually going to install this permanently inside my Sprinter van, but I'll save that for another video. Now there is something fundamentally missing from this unit, and that is the 12 volt outlet. You'll notice there's no cigarette lighter port, there's no USB ports, there's not even a 12 volt 30 amp outlet on it. So how are we going to use this inside a camper van? Well, this is where Bluetti have really pulled something special out of the hat. And here it is. This is the Hub D1. This will give you all the DC power you should ever need in any camper van. It has the usual 12 volt cigarette lighter type outlets. Although I say usual, this is quite special because you can actually change these from 12 volts to 24 volts using the Bluetti app. It also has your usual USB-A and USB-C outlets, but the real good thing about this, it actually has a 12 volt 50 amp outlet, giving you loads of 12 volt power. And again, you can swap this from 12 volts to 24 volts. Although if you do switch this to 24 volts, it reduces it down to 25 amps. But nevertheless, what a fantastic bit of kit. And this simply plugs into the outlet that is designed for the expansion battery. But if you do want to use an expansion battery with this, you simply plug your expansion battery into the Apex 300 and then plug this into your expansion battery. Not that you should really need an expansion battery, after all this has got 2764.8 watt hours of capacity built into this. And I do believe that is going to be plenty for me in my Mercedes Sprinter, especially as I can charge the battery inside this using the solar panel and using my alternator together at the same time via the Charger 1, of course. So for that reason I want to make a dedicated installation video installing this into my Sprinter. But for now, let's plug in the Hub 1, switch it on and take a look at some of the features. I want to see how well this powers up. I'm about to tuck that under my arm. Look, it's got this handy clip on here so we can attach it there. Plug this in. Let's see what happens here. Let's switch that on. We've got a button there to turn it on. You can't see it, so let's just turn it around that way. Let's power her up. Now one thing you'll notice straight away is there's no touch screen on this, but it's okay because we do have an app on our phone. We can control this via the app. Let's turn this on. Green 12 volt, blue 24 volts. Okay, so if you change this to 24 volts, the colour of the switch actually changes. Looks like we have to do that on the app. Right. Now whilst I do this, let's just talk about the inverter. The inverter in this is 3840 watts, which means I should be able to power all the tools in my workshop using this. So here we are, we've plugged into the app, we're all set up. It says that the battery is only at 23%, so I do need to charge this up before I use it. You can control it remotely basically using the app. The DC, let's see what happens if we turn that off. Yeah, straight away it's turned off. Okay, and straight away that's turned off. Completely controllable using your app. So once you install this in your van, you can put it in a cupboard, forget about it. You really don't need to touch it, unless of course you want to boost up that charging. Fantastic, because you can control the charging rate with this. Okay, now let's address the elephant in the room. At the beginning of this video I did state that this could potentially be the best power station for any camper van, but as a standalone unit and without all those accessories, it's not going to work in any camper van unless you just want to use this for 240 volt power. So you do need to buy all of the Bluetti accessories, including the PV cables, because when you buy this you don't get the PV cables in the box. All you get in the box that comes with this is a 240 volt 3-pin plug, so you can charge it from the mains, and surprisingly enough a cigarette lighter charging socket, so you can plug this into the PV, into one of the two PV inputs, and charge it using the alternator from your car via the cigarette lighter socket on your dashboard. And that's it, that's all you get with this in the box. And I think Bluetti have done that to keep the prices really low. After all, not everybody wants to use one of these in their van or in their car or even for camping. Some people actually buy this to put it in their house as an emergency backup supply. which is understandable, and that's the reason I think Bluetti have split this up and made it expandable. And as I mentioned earlier, you can expand this. In fact, you can actually plug another 3 expansion batteries into this, and then you can have another 3 of those all joined together into a hub, so you can power your whole house using 3 of these with 3 batteries each, giving you a colossal amount of power. But if you're like me, you just want to use it in your camper van, you do need to buy accessories, including the PV leads. They don't come in the box, unfortunately, and you will need 2 of those, one for the charger 1 and also one to plug into your solar panels. Now I will be making a very detailed video when I come to install this into my Sprint van, but I'm just going to quickly demonstrate how easy this is to set up. So you get one of these into one of your PV sockets, which is here, like that. Let's just turn that raw side on. And then the other end of your PV cable goes into your charger 1, like so. And then your charger 1, via these 2 ports, you simply connect a positive and a negative to your engine battery, like your main starter battery. So when you start your vehicle, the charger 1 will take over and start charging the Apex 300. And of course you've got the other PV input, so you can actually plug in your solar panels on the roof of your van if you choose to have solar panels. Some people are saying that if you've got one of these you no longer need solar panels. I don't quite agree with that. I think you should always have solar panels on the roof of your van. And so for that reason you can plug it into here, so you can actually have your solar panels plugged into this and your alternator at the same time. There's not many power stations I know of that you can actually do that. And don't forget, you can also charge this using a EV charging station, which is phenomenal. For me, that's the win, that you can do that, especially in the winter time. So that's the charging side of things taken care of. Really simple. So now the outputs. Right, so here comes the hub again. Let's put it up there. Oops. And as I demonstrated earlier, this simply plugs into there. We put it in, we lock it, that's it, it's done, it's plugged in. Then, somewhere up here, you take your standard Anderson plug, you connect this to your fuse box. This simply plugs into here like that. So now you end up with a positive and negative cable coming out of here, going to your main fuse board in your camper van. Hey presto, you are set, you are good to go. This gives you everything you need in your camper van, all in one package, as long as you buy these optional extras, of course. Now I can't actually give you a price of how much this all costs, but nevertheless I will leave a link in the description down below of this video to Bluetti's website, so do go check them out, have a look for yourself, make up your own mind whether you think this is worth it. Me personally, for anybody that is struggling with electrics, that doesn't understand electrics, they don't understand how to gauge what wires they need or how to connect up a battery, that sort of thing, absolutely perfect. You can just get one of these, install it in your van. As long as you've got a basic understanding of 12 volt electrics for wires and your fan and your fridge, that can all be connected up to this via a fuse box. Really simple, it's pretty much plug in and play. And I'm really looking forward to installing this into my Mercedes Sprinter camper van. And when I do, I will make a very detailed video on how to install the Apex 300 into any camper van. So if you want to watch that video, make sure you do subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss that video. Well, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you found it mildly entertaining, slightly informative. If you did, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Ta-ra for now.